Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. My name is Candace St. James. Thanks for coming back. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys all about safety. Safety in regards to a sewing machine, how to buy your first sewing machine, where to buy your first sewing machine at, and every question about how to basically use it, what I use it for, any recommendations that I can give you, and let's get started. 1, 2, 3, let's get fabulous! And before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and click the bell notification. Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. My name is Candace St. James. Thanks for coming back. And in this tutorial, I'm here to show you about basic sewing machine safety, basic sewing machines, and what they're about. And I use this quite often to make the wide variety of outfits I do make. I use all my sewing machines quite often. I hardly buy any articles of clothing. Typically, I'm making things out of fabric. I go to the hobby store and I go buy a bunch of fabric. What I do. So I'm going to show you guys how this sewing machine works. This is my most recent upgrade. I got this one after using the Singer Start 1304 model, and it just seemed like a toy, but it was a good basic starter machine. I'm not going to sit here and lie. So I'm going to actually go ahead and show you guys how this machine works. This is the Brother SQ9285. This is how I make all my outfits. So many people ask, what is a good sewing machine to buy? And to be honest, it's different for every person. Every quilter, every sewer, every seamstress, they all prefer different machines. I prefer Brother machines. They're a little bit more easier to use than Singers. Singers are also really good, but they do lack some qualities. And with this Brother machine, I really enjoy the fact that you can go ahead and use this for a wider variety of stuff. I can do ABCs, I can write a whole bunch of stuff if I wanted to on my fabrics. I can go ahead and do a lot more embroidery stitches. I have all these stitches I can do, which provides me a little bit more close for comfort, so I can go ahead and do what I need to go ahead and do. I can do sewing stitches, I can do buttonholes, I can do embroidery, I can do whatever you want me to go do. I can totally go ahead and do on this thing. I can even write ABCs up here. That's where this little flap is for my ABCs. This is kind of like how it kind of comes. I have quite a few different stitches, so I can go ahead and just press the numbers right here, and that will control all these. I will need a different foot for some of them, but that's how it kind of works. Most people ask, which is the best machine to buy? And I would say I was like, if you're starting out and buying a small cheap sewing machine or whatever, that's not necessarily a toy, but it's like just a good starter sewing machine, I'll go ahead and try one of these. Don't waste your money by going to a sewing store and spending $400 or $500 right away when you're just learning how to sew. I would go ahead and start with a couple machines and then go to like Walmart, where it's not as expensive, and get the same machine or get a very similar machine for even half the price, because a lot of times fabric stores sell them but for way more expensive than they actually really have to be. So first of all, some of the really cool things about this machine that it comes with is for you to load a spool of thread on here. It actually has this little tuck away thing where it just kind of clips in, and you just pull it right out. And so this little back thing will actually hold the spool in of thread, and you will be able to go ahead and now put your thread on. And that's the very first thing you do when you learn how to sew, or when you're sewing with your machine. And so now, because there's that little pin there, you just want to go ahead and slide your thread in like this, like so. And then it comes with this little attachment, and so you just clip it on the other side, and that's to make sure that your thread does not get caught on anything. So then from there, if you're using it for the first time ever, you have a bobbin thread, which is stored down here, and that is just a bobbin with some thread on it already, and it just clips on and it takes off, and you just set it in there. It's super simple. We go ahead and we have a list of various different stitches right over here. You can press 0, 1 right here, and that's gonna go ahead to a right side stitch, straight stitch. But if you wanna go to like somewhere like number 5, which is our typical zigzag stitch, that's really good typical for a lot of stretchy fabrics. Put it on number 5, and then you would have, right here is where you would adjust the stitch length, and then this is where adding stitches if you wanted to go ahead and do that. Say something happened and your fabric went and got off track somehow, you can go ahead and add that. It can get back on track. Right here is my speed for my sewing machine, how fast the needle's gonna go pump through those stitches. This is a very turtle slow speed, this is a medium speed, and this is a very fast speed. Right up here is where we have our tension, and so when you are dealing with stretchy fabric, stretchy material, it's gonna actually tell you to adjust this, because your stitches are gonna look on the other side of where you're actually sewing, and it just looks like it's very little thread thread is very loose, you gotta adjust your tension. So basically, because I always sew with stretch fabric, I always use this machine purposely does not like a lot of stretch material. So I have to typically start out with a straight stitch and then go into my zigzag, because I do not have, this machine does not have a stretch stitch available. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and do my zigzags typically throughout my whole time, and I need to make sure I'm going and graduating into a zigzag from a straight stitch, because otherwise my machine will just jam up. It just does not like stretch fabric, but cotton, not a problem. I can totally deal with cotton. Right here is where all these buttons are embroidery functions. So this is a normal sewing function. This is for actually embroidering like border lines or whatever. And then the A is for ABCs, and I can save them however I want on this. I'm not really used to them though. I've never really tried because I don't really do a lot of embroidery. So this is my reverse stitch, and so this basically will make me sew backwards so I can make my stitches firmer. And then this is my needle up and needle down, and this will push that up. This is where I adjust my presser foot. And this, you know, I can also adjust it. I can also adjust my needle from this little knob on the side. I don't really ever use it though. This comes with also a self threader. You gotta do it in a certain way, and I have not yet mastered it. That's how I use it. On the back side, it has a thread cutter right here, so I can totally cut all my loose threads. And whenever you go ahead and you get a sewing machine, you get a sewing pedal so you can maneuver it with your feet. So I always go ahead and maneuver it from standing up on the floor. Basically, your sewing machine will come with a whole bunch of different compartments, and so a bunch of different little tools. So you typically get all kinds of zipper feet. You get a couple loose bobbins. Bobbins are the little spools that they give you. You use those at the bottom right here, and those will bring the stitch tighter, and that's what basically your sewing machine will loop to. You also have a buttonhole stitch tool, a bunch of other little tools that I don't know. This one actually comes with a walking foot, which will guide your work all the way through. That's typical, but that I've never used it once on my machine. That's typically an embroidery thing or a quilting thing, and I just don't do that. You get a little brush, and then you also get a seam ripper to go through your stuff too. This is how this is the basics of my machine. I like this machine overall, but the machine does not really do good with, it doesn't do very good with stretch fabric at all. Also, another thing about this sewing machine is you can take this out, but what happens is this also comes with a table, a working table with a ruler attached to it. And basically you just kind of take out the foldable legs, and then you just kind of plug it in, and that becomes a new sewing area where you can work and sew. So some of the common myths when it comes to making outfits is that it's cheaper than if you were to go out and buy your outfit. That's not true. It might save you less time as far as shopping for your outfits. It's definitely a lot more expensive. The cost of fabric is a lot more high, and I use some of my fabrics are like $25 a yard, and so what I typically do is I go to like Joann's, Hobby Lobby, or any of those places that do sell some fabrics. I will use a bunch of coupons, and the way you get around that is you do separate orders, and because you can reuse coupons. I don't know if they ever told you, but you can totally go ahead and sometimes my orders are $200-300, and I actually end up paying like 60 bucks for my outfit. But that's just a couple yards of fabric. That's just sometimes 5 yards of fabric. So you want to always go ahead and make sure that whenever you buy, you bring coupons. Secondly, it's not, you're in the club the first time and you're like, oh, I want to go ahead and be one of those RuPaul girls, and I want to go ahead and make those lavish things. Those lavish things cost a lot of money, in all reality, but a lot of people do it through sponsorships for like the Miss America pageants and stuff like that. So the way that we get around it is we either make clothes or we go out and we buy them. And so the biggest misconception is that it's cheaper, which is not always true to make your own outfits. They can be actually a lot more expensive. But in certain areas also, if you're buying a wedding dress, it's also a lot more expensive to buy it than to actually make it. That's one of the biggest things for me. Two, you're also having to spend time making them, and so you can go ahead and spend 30-40 minutes shopping for your outfit. That's 30-40 minutes I have to go ahead and make a bodice, or that's 30-40 minutes I have to go ahead and do whatever I need to go do, make a skirt, make whatever, So I'm also, with drag, buying things is, in regards to sewing your own stuff, it makes it easier. You get what you want, you can design it how you want, as long as you learn how to do it. But it's not always easier. It's harder to shop for what you want because you have to kind of go along with the trends. But at the same time, you have the ability to make something that's very unique. I like to look at it like that. You know, I don't want to spend 40 minutes going through a store, figure out what I can do for a song or for a number that everyone will probably have, and then when I can just create it myself, you know, or I can knock off certain outfits for myself. I can go get a cheap thing if I need to, and then just take the tags off, and I can totally recycle it and upcycle it. I can totally upcycle the outfit for what it really is. So that is the biggest misconception, is that it's cheaper, and it's not. I would love to say that it is, but it's not. I will say this, I do pay a good amount of money for fabric to sew and stuff like that, but I also go ahead and I have something unique, and that's when you are able to sew, I can go ahead and now create something that, you know, a lot of people don't see every day, you know, because you allow your creativity to flow. And so, you know, am I the best queen in the world? Hell no. But at the same time, we're here to have fun, we're here to have a great time, we're here to learn, you know. And I think, you know, if you stop learning, one of the best things you can do as a drag queen is to learn every aspect of the trade. Because, you know, you enroll in a pageant, and there's not always a person that's going to help you with your hair. There's not always a person that's going to help you with hair or making clothes. There's not gonna be people that are gonna help you necessarily do it, because why? It's competition or whatever. It's drag. There's not always those people when you're in a pageant setting. I just enrolled in a pageant recently. It was about a year ago or so, and I sewed all my looks, and that's why it was a very neat thing, because I didn't think I was gonna get accepted, but it was my first time at this, and I learned a lot, you know. As far as my lip syncing goes, like, you know, that's what they were wanting, and I felt like that was my biggest setback. But I'm still learning, and I could sew, and I knew a lot of people were excited to see that and stuff like that. So, you know, that was one of my bigger strengths, I would say, that in going towards a pageant, is you want to just give it your all. Pageants are not always about, you know, you having to look the prettiest or whatever. You can look the grossest and have the best outfit, or you can have the best personality, and that shines sometimes way more than just looking pretty or looking whatever, you know. I did not win the pageant, but, you know, I learned a lot, and so for me that does make me a winner. So if I could take something back from that, I wouldn't take a thing back, actually. It was kind of cool, because they asked me this year to go ahead and get back into it and go ahead and start the pageant for season 2. And at the time, I just said no, because I have a lot going on already as it is. So you know, just continue to learn. You know, that's all that we ask. That's all that you should ask yourself, is just to continue to learn more about the trade if that's what you're interested in. Thank you guys for coming back to my channel. As you can see, dealing with the sewing machine can be very difficult, very tedious, very whatever. The biggest misconceptions about drag is that sewing your clothes is very inexpensive, but it's actually very expensive. And so, but it's something you make that's very unique. I actually enjoy doing what I do. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the next tutorial. We're gonna start doing some different, I'm kind of wanting to experiment with different holiday looks. And so I'm gonna start with the 4th of July one, because that's my favorite holiday. And so just keep staying tuned. I really do appreciate you guys coming back, and let's get fabulous. Thank you guys for coming back.